Hello, I'm Steven,
And I'm Aaron.
and we have just seen
Companion.
Companion, new film that is out in theaters right now, starring Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid, and it is directed and written by Drew Hancock.
So I guess I'll just start with the fact that you and I probably have different experiences with this movie. I feel like we probably will come to the same conclusions, but I think you and I had different viewing experiences. This movie kind of hinges on a big twist that they do, probably by the end of the first third of the movie. And if you watch the marketing for it, it's completely spoiled and given away in the second trailer for the movie.
Yeah, there were two trailers. I saw the first one, which was more vague and I guess meant to invoke a kind of feeling or atmosphere about what the
Yeah.
film is going to be. And then there was a second trailer that I didn't see because I was asleep during the screening when it was playing, so I didn't see it, but you did, and you told me after the fact that it was spoilerific.
Yeah. I felt like it completely gave the whole movie away to the point where going into this, I was actually wondering how the twist was going to work and how early in the movie it was going to come, and if they were going to treat it like a big reveal. Because if they're willing to give it away in the marketing, then I'm thinking, okay, it's either going to be something that's established really, really early, or it's going to be probably a first act thing, and hopefully, they build up to that reveal in a kind of interesting way, and it's still somewhat of a fun thing to experience, even though it's not a surprise anymore. I guess we'll get into what that spoiler is now. So if you don't want to hear, what kind of the big twist is, ignore, I guess, the rest of this, or if you don't care, I guess continue, because it is in the second trailer. But basically, the big twist is that in this abusive relationship between this man and woman, it's revealed that the woman is in fact like an artificial intelligence, like robot.
A Stepford wife, basically.
Basically, did you know this before it was revealed, or was the reveal kind of a surprise to you?
I went into the movie knowing she was an android, but I don't remember how I figured it out. I did not see that trailer. I know I did not. But maybe I read it somewhere inadvertently, or maybe I heard it somewhere. But the reveal is perfectly fine, and I have no issue with it. My issues with the movie come from other places, but we'll get to that in a second. But what I will say is that I am curious if I would have been able to figure out the reveal before it happened, because I noticed some things. She is referred to as a beautiful creation at one point early on, and then a few minutes later, she says to someone,
I'm not built that way.
"Yeah, I wish I could be more like you, but I'm not built that way." And then Jack Quaid, her boyfriend, his nickname for her is Beep Boop.
Beep boop, yeah. That's kind of the start of the movie's problems for me. Is
Telegraphed dialogue.
yeah, if you're building up to like the reveal of something, those kind of little pieces of dialogue here and there, or little kind of surprises, if you want to call them.
Well, you want to space them out more.
Yeah, it's that's kind of a cool thing. You can go back and look and say, oh, okay, I see what they were kind of doing there when they were setting this up. But knowing that she's an android going in, it really just makes the dialogue feel awkward and clumsy.
Yeah, all of those lines just hit you like a brick.
Yeah, the whole time I was thinking, oh, so this is not clever at all. They're kind of flat out saying it without saying it. So when the surprise comes, it's going to be even less of a surprise, because I'm just sitting here waiting for the thing to happen, which makes me feel like I'm kind of waiting for the movie to start.
So, to make our opinions clear, I did not like this movie at all. I thought everything that was good about it, or decent, happened in the last 30 minutes, but you have to wade through an hour of bullshit to get there.
Yeah, I also did not like this at all. In fact, I kind of hated it. The more it went on, just the dumber it got. The stupider the characters were, the worse the dialogue became.
Yep, I'm sure you heard me audibly groan or cringe several times
Quite a few
throughout
times.
because of the atrocious, like, porno movie level dialogue. I'm so sick of that in horror films.
It also has like the thing that comes to mind is the reboot, remake, sequel of Candyman. Where you'll have like a tense situation where something serious or horrific is going on, but then the characters will kind of just make a joke in the middle of it during their dialogue. Like, can the characters in this movie take anything seriously ever?
I was reminded of that Candyman specifically because there is a gay couple in this film, two men, and there was a gay man in that Candyman movie, the remake, and in both films they behave like gay stereotypes from the 1990s.
Yeah.
And you and I know quite a lot of gay people in reality, and they don't all act like Sean Hayes from Will and Grace.
No. It was less egregious here than it was in Candyman for sure. In fact, that's kind of one of the things I found interesting was that couple, because there's also, I guess
You're spoiling all this. It's the only way to talk about this.
The only way to talk about is spoilers. So one of the men in that couple is an android as well. And one of the themes of the movie is obviously like, artificial intelligence and
Power dynamics.
Power dynamics, and can you actually fall in love with an android or a robot, and do they actually feel things for you? Or is it all just programming and stuff that's implanted in them? Like, these are ideas that, like, Blade Runner 2049 was playing with and doing interesting things with them. And here, it's just kind of all played for a gag or just, like, fake sincerity.
Every idea in this movie has been done better in so many other movies. Like, yeah, like you said, it's Blade Runner 2049. It's Ex Machina. It's Alex Garland's Men. It's Alex Garland did both Men and Ex Machina.
Yeah, I was thinking about Men a lot throughout this movie.
Which is a movie I love.
Yeah, I like it too, but a complaint levied at that movie was that it was very in your face about men bad. See, men bad. Men control women and beat women and abuse women. Men bad. And if you really look at that movie and what it's doing, it's really not that simplistic of an idea. There's a lot more going on in that movie than people say. But here,
it's not just the men suck movie.
No,
it speaks. It's about a very specific kind of man. It's not an indictment of all men.
Yeah, but in this movie, like I kind of felt like it was so obvious and in your face and just cartoony and over the top. And I'm all for like a movie, making fun of incels or trashing incels or whatever, or having a lady robot dice these people to bits. But can we like at least make them feel like real characters?
Acknowledge the fact that these people who believe stupid things are still, at the end of the day, human beings who behave like people. And nobody in this movie does. Everybody is a cartoon or an archetype or an exaggerated caricature. Nobody feels like a real three-dimensional human.
And that's fine if your movie is extremely over the top.
Satire.
And it like doing satire, but the movie plays it surprisingly straight for how like one-dimensional these characters are written.
A good example of like something that's just so loud and over the top in terms of like characterization would be Sorry to Bother You. Another movie that you and I both adore.
Yeah, that movie is insane from the jump, and it only gets crazier from there. So by the time you get to the big, insane, crazy, what am I watching ending, it all feels earned.
Yeah, but it also has clever writing and good dialogue and funny jokes and likable characters and an interesting like character arc and a twist you could never predict in a million years.
Yeah, this has nothing to say really about power dynamics or the use or abuse of artificial intelligence or what that would mean in the future.
Yeah, just bad people who do bad things are bad, right?
Yeah, it's just awful people, and you watch this robot lady hopefully, take them all out.
And earlier, when I said that everything that was good about this movie or decent happens in the last 30 minutes, to clarify, everything that's good or decent about this movie is cheap and easy. Because when you get to the third act, basically it's just me, like, kind of admiring the performances. And hoping that the main character, it appeals to me on such a base level. It's like, okay, I don't want to see this woman get abused, so I hope she triumphs over this guy for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, it's easy, but like you said, it's the performance, and that really is kind of the only highlight I can say for this movie is Sophie Thatcher as the main character, the robot lady Iris. She's great in the movie. And some of the stuff that I do enjoy in the first act, and something that I think would have helped if I didn't know the twist already, was she does a lot of things with her face and the way she talks
Yes.
that makes you feel like something is slightly off. All of her dialogue and everything she says is like to, appease and affirm the Jack Quaid character. She's like, oh, well, what can I do for you? And can I do this for you? And how are you? And, do you want to go do this? Or can I do this for you? She, lives to serve this guy, basically.
Jack Quaid, for as simplistic and cartoony as his character, he plays a douchebag well.
Yeah, he's very good as well at playing this character. He's doing, the little jabs here and there. You need to smile more. You need to do this. You need to do that.
I thought it was a little too obvious right from the jump of what kind of man he was, and I felt like that's something that should have been slowly revealed.
Yeah, but Sophie Thatcher, especially with the you need to smile more kind of thing. She's always trying to smile through whatever situation she's in. And she does a really great job with her face and her eyes of creating some kind of tension or confusion. It's like her programming is telling her to do a certain thing, but her brain or heart or whatever you want to call it is telling her to do something else. There's a scene early on where she's being abused by this who we believe to be a Russian mobster guy, and she's trying to just get through the situation, peacefully. While maintaining her smile, very, Stepford wife, But of course it turns violent, which is the whole inciting thing for this movie. Jack Quaid and Sophie Thatcher are at a party with this couple, these two men, and their friend. And when the Russian mobster guy is killed by Iris, it's revealed why they're all there in the first place. Basically, Jack Quaid and his buddies, they all want the mobster's money.
Yeah, it's a silly, convoluted plot to steal the money out of his safe. It's so ludicrous. It seems off the point.
Yeah, you've got this movie about power dynamics and artificial intelligence. You've got these two couples. You've got Jack Quaid and Sophie Thatcher, and then you've got this gay couple. And it explores the ideas of, love and abuse versus, something more real, or is it real? And just that by itself would have been enough to sustain this movie. Create some interesting conversations or dialogue or something, but it turns into a very simplistic, slasher crime movie. And I was expecting a little bit more based on the first trailer. And then the second trailer, like I said, gave more of the game away. So I was very let down by what this movie ended up actually being.
What it ended up becoming, to me, felt like a bad version of Coralie Fargier's film Revenge, only swap out a real woman with a android. Because after a while, it just becomes them chasing Iris through the woods.
That's 100% true. I didn't even think of that movie.
Which is a much better film also, by the way.
Much better. It's more stylized. It's more over the top. It's way more violent. That's another thing, is this movie kind of holds back on its violence for as intense and realistic as it tries to play things. I guess a few more positives. There is some fun gags with the way the android works that they use throughout the movie. So, like, the control center on the phone for the app, like, you can control things like eye color or voice and pitch and even like tone and stuff like that. She has like voice commands that can activate her or put her to sleep. So there is some fun stuff they do with that, and she's a jailbroken android, which is basically why any of this happens in the first place, because there are rules that are set in place, of course.
Yeah. There was one moment that I thought was somewhat clever and probably would have been felt more so had the rest of the movie been actually good and tense and I was like into it. But it was a moment where the Iris character and her androids like her are not allowed to lie. So there's a moment where she comes face to face with a police officer who like confronts her on the road, and she has just committed a murder, but she cannot tell the cop that. Well, she would have to. So her way of getting around that is by changing her language settings to German so that she can tell him everything he needs to hear in German, but he won't be able to understand it.
Yeah, yeah, stuff like that is fun and clever, although I felt like that bit went on like way too long.
Yeah, that's another thing. This is another one of those movies that felt like they had to pad out the runtime by showing you scenes over and over again. The meet cute between the gay couple, they describe it in detail and then they show it several times.
Yeah, you've described this in the party scene, and now you're showing it later in a flashback. And later on, when some things have been changed with like the androids and stuff like that, they show it again, only there's the slightest of variations.
Yes.
It's like, we didn't need to see the whole thing again. You could have just flashed real quick to a moment from it, and then we get the idea,
Yeah. I was kind of looking forward to this too. The first trailer looked interesting.
Yeah.
I could pretty much tell what kind of movie it was going to be based on that first trailer. Films like these definitely do appeal to me. This is an interesting subject matter, but it's executed so horrendously here. Just watch Ex Machina or Blade Runner 2049 or Men or even the original Stepford Wives and even the crappy 2004 Nicole Kidman Stepford Wives.
Yeah. In that first trailer, and probably the second one too, they played up their relation to the movie Barbarian. You remember that from a few years ago?
The movie, yeah, which I didn't like, but
Yeah.
who was this directed by the same guy?
No, I thought it was for a while because I couldn't remember. It's not. I did like Barbarian, and the whole time I was thinking like, man, the guy that made Barbarian made this movie. I really liked Barbarian, even though I have some problems with it. But this feels nothing like that movie. But it is made by a different guy.
No, so what's the relationship?
Well, the guy that made Barbarian is a producer on this one.
Yeah, they like to do that.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson presents District 9.
Yeah, from the producers of Barbarian. Only this is not a quarter as good as that movie.
Yeah, I will say Barbarian was better. At least it had the sleazy Justin Long character who was wonderfully portrayed.
Yeah, very, very, very well portrayed.
And some of that movie was really funny, but that's a different topic, so we won't get into a Barbarian tangent. It even deals with some of the same themes as this movie, and it does it better.
Yeah. And once again, like the first act setup, and then it kind of completely changes for the next hour of the movie. Something else that really bothered me in this movie is the inconsistencies in the way the androids and their settings worked. So they have like factory resets that you can activate, but then there's also like the setup process where you basically attach them to you as a person. They call it like what is it, a love connection or something like that, or love link.
Yeah, love link.
So there's some stuff that they do later on where they're switching love links with different androids so they can follow their commands and stuff. But it just gets convoluted and confused, and then the rules don't make any sense anymore, or they just don't apply. Like the androids aren't allowed to kill, but then here they are in some places. And then also like the setup for the main character and their motivations. So they're here to rob this mobster's like bank, like his vault.
Yeah, alleged mobster.
But
He-
then I'm thinking, like, if this guy can afford to rent or buy like a personal android, is he really hurting that bad financially?
Yeah, that's something they do establish it's a rental. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
but
it's
they
still got
don't-
to cost a pretty penny.
They don't establish how much this thing costs, or
Because he's supposed to be like a pathetic incel with like a 1-bedroom apartment, which he complains about in the movie.
yeah.
But
and then they go to this party at this like ridiculous mansion
Yeah.
in the woods, that owned by this who we think is a mobster guy. It's like these people seem like they're doing well off, and then I'm supposed to buy that this guy's some pathetic dude who can't afford to pay his rent or eat food, and so he needs like a personal robot to like love him. It just didn't make any sense to me.
that's something that didn't even occur to me. There was one example of just shitty dialogue that came to mind, which was later on in the movie. Jack Quaid's character reprograms the gay android Patrick to be his personal assassin, and when Iris comes face to face with Patrick, she says to Jack Quaid, "What did you do to him?" And he says, "It's a long story." And it's
it's
not.
really not.
You reprogrammed him.
Yeah,
it's
I
not a long
reprogrammed him.
story.
Like, it's as simple as that. Oh, he follows my orders now. I
Yeah.
reprogrammed him. Yeah, I thought that was weird too.
And then there's so many examples of dialogue where it's like, do they really think this is how young people talk? Like, stop robo shaming me.
Yeah, that's another thing is I can't stand, like, I know that internet culture and internet slang is like a big thing, but it's also mostly confined to the internet.
Like,
You don't see a lot of people, saying things like hard disagree in dialogue.
yeah, I don't hear people in my day-to-day life saying no cap, bro, crap like that.
Yeah, like, oh, this pizza pie is bussin'. Like, people don't really talk like that, but these people seem to think that they do.
Yeah, I only ever hear that shit on memes and in meme videos
Yeah.
on the internet. So
Yeah,
that
and-
something I'm getting real tired of is this. Again, it ties into them just not being humans, just cartoons.
It's the way a lot of modern younger people are written in like television or movies. They're just written to be as stupid as possible, and they talk like they're typing up a tweet. It's really annoying.
I am relieved to hear that you feel this way, by the way, because when the movie was over, you and I were not going to talk about this thing until we recorded this. And I seriously thought you were going to be more sympathetic to this than I was, because I was not really paying attention to you during the screening. I was just cringing at it constantly.
Yeah, no, I had a feeling you didn't like it just because I could hear some of the groans and read the body language, and if I can see a hand on the side of the head out of my peripheral vision, that I know the movie's probably not working for you. Mm-hmm. I was just starting to get bored after a while, and towards the end of it, it was getting to where like I really just wanted it to be over so I could go home, because I didn't want to watch it anymore. Especially in the third act, when characters are in situations that they could easily end the movie with one simple action, with one pull of a trigger, with one, flip of a knife, but characters would rather monologue to
Yes.
each other or draw out a situation as long as possible.
They do that old chestnut where a character has a gun pointed at another character and all they got to do is pull the trigger, but that's not enough. No, they got to
Yeah.
talk endlessly about it until the other character...
So, you thought you can get away with it,
Yeah, until the other character
but
can
now
find a way
I'm
to
on
fight
top,
back.
and I've got this gun. What do you think of that? Any last words?
Death by corkscrew.
Yeah, it's just really bad. Also, another movie I thought of was The Hunt a lot,
Yes.
which is a movie that a lot of people seem to enjoy and like, but I absolutely hated it for a lot of the
Despised it.
same reasons.
Some of the worst satire I've ever seen. Some of the worst dialogue you'll ever hear. Just everything fell flat, like every joke in this movie.
Yeah. So I liked the performances a lot, especially Sophie Thatcher. Like she was really great in the movie. Everything else was kind of a disaster to me.
Yeah. One of the most disappointing films of the year thus far, but it's only January, so there's going to be plenty of those coming up on the horizon.
February.
Oh, that's right.
We're in February now.
Damn, time flies. So, what is your final number grade on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'd give it like a 3 out of 10. I didn't enjoy anything about it except the performances, really.
That's even worse than what I was thinking. I don't know, maybe this is a 5.
I could see some of the appeal. Like, this might be fun in like a crowded theater, late at night on opening weekend. But for me, this was just like a bust. And you got to remember, I saw that second trailer.
Yeah.
So I was very much let down by this movie not turning into something.
More thoughtful?
Yeah, more creative and more thoughtful. I felt like if they were willing to give away that big a twist in the trailer, maybe there was something else waiting in the movie, and there was nothing.
That certainly does throw some salt in the wound. You hated this worse than me, even. That's surprising.
Yeah, stop spoiling stuff in your trailers, please.
Please. 5 out of 10. So that's Companion. Don't see it.